Alright, so hey, it's me again. I'm. Oh. eh, okay. I was Rumplemintz and Diet Coke, and it kind of tastes like cough syrup. Um. Okay, this week I put my Linkstorm off until Thursday night, so I'm just doing a voiceover. If folks wanna, I can put up the original edited video, but yeah, that's what we're doing. Just a complete voiceover. So um yeah, you can see I'm down in the sewer. If you didn't catch the little bonus thing I put up a little earlier, um, it kind of explains how I got to this point. You can see I closed this thing off because I started villagers getting out and zombies getting in. That's apparently my barrier because I never sealed off the far side of my sewer. I didn't do that. Uh, right. News. So there was a mass stabbing in China. Anyway, at first glance, I just breezed past it because I'm not usually in that vein of news, and then I saw that they were Uyghurs, which is a group of Muslims. They're kind of like they're kind of like the Chechen rebels, right, for Russia, but for China. It's like every major power takes enmity Muslim subgroup during character creation. Like they all have one. Uh, anyway, so they went apeshit in a bus station. I think 29 people died and 130 people were wounded. I was talking with Terry about it, and he said that it seemed that if you had 200 people in a train station, they're arrested. Just stay out of trouble, villager. Just stay out of trouble. Don't die. You know what? In fact, yeah. It's okay. It's cool. You can die. You can die. Anyway, they arrested 4 guys, and they're seeking more. And I did the manpower calculations, and assuming that even with 8 guys over the course of 15 minutes, it is an impressive amount of stabbing. Oh, goddamn! Why are you outside the wall? Just an impressive, in terms of man hours, impressive amount of stabbing. And Terry's like, even with 8 guys, 2 young, strong guys could stop each of these guys. And I was like, well, Terry, um, you go first. And Terry was like, I have a family, bro. You go first. It's, it's kind of like belling the cat. The mice are all, man, that cat is hella quiet, and he's eating the shit out of us. And they're like, let's put a bell on the cat. And all the mice are like, hell yeah, let's put a bell on the cat. That's a great idea, motherfucker. Um, so then, like, the head rat is like, okay, awesome. So who's gonna put the bell on the cat? And the mice are like, not me, motherfucker. And that's what it's like. I mean, some things are a lot easier in theory than they are in practice. And then you kind of consider the fact that these guys, they were prepared, they were practiced. They're probably guys in their prime. They have these long knives. The report was kind of unclear on exactly what they had in terms of weapons. They just said long knives, which is pretty threatening in a country without guns. Um, they had the element of surprise, organization, plans, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop this guy with a knife, me and my buddy. And you're like, oh shit, there's another guy with a knife. Well, fuck, he could stab us while we're trying to stop the first guy with the knife. It gets complicated pretty quickly, especially if you're like, well, 8 guys. Okay, 8 guys, I can get a plan. And you're like, well, was it 8? Was it 9? Is there an unknown number of guys? Is there another set of guys that's going to come around the corner and fuck your shit up while you're trying to stop the first 9? And then for 9 guys, you got to get 18 people together. I cannot get me and my 4 best friends to order a fucking pizza together, much less decide to maybe risk our lives for other motherfuckers in a bus station to stop motherfuckers with knives. I'm just saying, there are obstacles there. And if everybody in the bus station is like, hey man, someone else is going to stop these guys, so let's just run away. And that's what they do. And in practice, everyone else just sort of, they looked out for number one. And they said, hey, I have a wife and family. I can't go around stopping criminals who are hurting complete strangers. So these people made a completely rational decision to run away, to help themselves, protect themselves. And 159 people suffered for it later. And it really didn't work out so well for them. So anyway, this has been long overdue, what I'm doing here, building this wall, because I built it such that zombies could still sort of hop across the river and come up against the walls of the town, and now I'm changing that dynamic around. Just barely, though. I actually need to come back by here and put more lights in it and bullshit like that, because you can see that I've got the village quartered off. And basically to section off and protect my villagers. So, idiots that they are. Fucking, there's, like, me playing this doesn't know it, but, like, I'm about to discover that down in that hole there's a lot of fucking villagers, and I have to get them out of that hole and get them somewhere else. Yeah, fuck those zombie hands. Oh yeah, I'm putting up lights. So anyway, let's get to the real issue, the real thing going on here, and that's the Russian occupation of Ukraine, specifically the Crimean region of Ukraine. Like, I don't know how many people watching this are keeping up, but a while back, just for reference, the Russians proposed a deal with the Ukrainian president Yanukovych. That's not his name yet. It's Yanukovych. Yanukovych is his name. Yanukovych. The deal was that Yanukovych wouldn't get any closer to the European Union, and in return, they would give the Ukrainians $15 billion in assistance. You can do the whole pinky lip thing. I'm doing it right now because it's a lot of money. So apparently Ukraine is just running an awful fucking deficit, and they're like, hell yeah. So when the Ukraine's like, hey Ukraine, let's get a little closer. The Ukraine's all like, hell no, European Union, we're not going to do that. Well, Yanukovych was like, no. So the people of the Ukraine who wanted closer ties to the EU protested quite a bit. It went on for a while. Motherfuckers died. And eventually, Yanukovych fled the country. He ended up resurfacing in Russia later because he's pro-Russian. So the legislature stripped Yanukovych of power. They put in an interim president, and they announced new elections on May 25th. So then, unknown soldiers, Russians, they were Russians. They took control of a federal building in Ukraine's Crimea region, and the legislatures there elected a new pro-Russian leader. That leader then asked Russian troops to come into Crimea to help restore order and protect Russian-speaking citizens. And now the Crimea is generally pro-Russian, so the people have mostly been happy about that, which seems kind of strange to me. But I mean, Russia's been pretty dodgy on its messaging. So the latest number I have is that there are 15,000 Russian troops in the Ukraine. Even though Russia has sometimes claimed that it doesn't have any, that it's just 15,000 spontaneous guys with automatic weapons and uniforms who absolutely love Russia. Anyway, and people have generally been happy about this. Not every Crimean, obviously, but Russia owns the naval ports, the military bases, federal buildings. They're in control of the Crimea, regardless of specifically what the politicians say. There have been some reports of shots fired, Ukrainian soldiers refusing to surrender, Ukrainian generals defecting to Russia. It's a whole fucking thing. Anyway, the Russians, probably Russians, have dug in along the northern border of Crimea, and Crimea has basically as much physical attachment to the Ukraine as it does to Russia. Russia's trying to hastily build a bridge from their borders over to Crimea, so they have as much physical attachment as the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians do already have infrastructure connecting it, because obviously it's part of Ukraine. So if you watch the fourth season opener for DS9, it's basically like when the Cleons moved into Cardassia. They're going to be there for a while, get a fucking Snickers, and disregard the Kedemir protocols. The Russian parliament has also authorized Putin to take any military measures necessary to ensure the safety of Russian speakers in the Ukraine, which is a blank check to invade the Ukraine. Basically, now they're probably not going to do it, but the Ukraine is taking it pretty seriously. Their military is on full alert, but it's nothing compared to what Russia can do. The Ukraine, I don't want to tell this to you guys harshly, but the Ukraine is not strong, and they're strong. They're not Russia strong, and obviously the U.S. isn't doing much to help them. That's all just the broad points. There's a lot more going on there. I should have a bevy of links. Usually when I do these notes, I put up links for each specific part, but the Ukraine thing is so big. I just bookmarked everything. I'm going to open up my bookmarks folder and basically vomit it into the Google description bit here, because it's a lot of shit. So anyway, if you remember the Russian occupation of Georgia during the 2008 Summer Games, you basically know how this is going to go. It's another overt Russian military move coinciding with the Olympics. And people are all pissed. They're like, oh, Russia, you've completely thrown out all of the political goodwill of the Olympics. And I never got that as an angle, that Russia and China are about goodwill. And I don't think that Russia gives a single shiny shit about how other people see them. My take is that Russia sees it, and this is 100% hindsight, motherfuckers. I'm not a prophet. I didn't see this coming. This isn't like the 2012 election where I crunched the numbers and I was right. And that was that was pretty great. But no. This is 100% hindsight. It is all about Russia figuring out when people will oppose them, or if people will oppose them. Like their operations in Georgia, their granting of asylum to Edward Snowden, their push for anti-gay legislation on the eve of hosting the Olympics, despite the International Olympic Committee's commitment to ensuring that sport, and I'm quoting here, does not discriminate on the grounds of race, religion, politics, gender, or otherwise. It was all about seeing if anyone would stand up to them, if the West had the courage of its convictions, and we didn't. And now here we are. Now, I'm not saying that standing up for gays would have prevented this Crimean crisis, because crisis implies a certain lack of control, and Russia is clearly in control here. But I'm going to imply the whole thing that I just said pretty heavily. Yeah. And I mean, the IOC doesn't care about shit. Just as an aside, it's an advertising agency. The shit about equality goes in the brochure. Olympics for a better world, man. But they don't care. They're an advertising company. They host a big event that gets lots of eyeballs, so advertisers can put their logos on it and get their money's worth for their advertising buck. That's all the IOC is about. There's nothing higher behind the Olympic side of the Olympics than that. I'm sorry. I hope I haven't shattered too many of your illusions. I mean, going through the emotions of international camaraderie and respectful competition like that does have its own benefits. Don't get me wrong. But most of the people who do it, most of the people who are running it, they're doing it for the paycheck. They have no shits to give, and honest to God, just fuck them. Fuck them. And that's what Russia was testing in Sochi, and everything the Olympics said about their dedication to human rights was all talk. It was all talk. And maybe you reach this conclusion around the time China hosted the Olympics, and China. But anyway, there's a great Matt Boris cartoon, and yeah, he's a big fat liberal, but it explains the thinness of the West's commitment to gay rights. As much of an affectation that it is, I'm glad it exists, but that is all there is to it. Anyway, the 2012 Olympics were a test of principle, and while Putin can't fail us on a test of principles because he's a living Bond villain, we certainly didn't pass. Anyway, at some point here, and I'm running about 6 minutes ahead of the actual video, so I don't know what to talk about. This happens. Like, I do the thing, and then I scramble for words in the actual video, and I make little mumbly things. You can, like, I talk about this until we hit my mark. I'm just gonna extemporize. Everything I've got going on down here, it's gonna be wheat, and then finally, these last 2 rows are gonna be watermelons and pumpkins. Right? Because, why the fuck not? I never know what to grow, so I try to grow about an equal amount of everything, just so I have my bases covered. And then once I have too much of a thing, I go back and I just cut it out. Right. So anyway, I'm gonna pause the audio recording at this point because I have to edit the shit out of the video here. Because wow. Okay, just pausing for a second here. So anyway, I think that right about here, I'm considering putting up the walls, which I should have done a long time ago, because it's gonna be a bitch to get around this place once the walls are up. It's also gonna be a hell of a lot more secure. Part of my reason for working up top, it isn't just security; it's the fact that I can get rid of the sand that this place is just fucking full of, and start to do it. Now, I think it's around this part that I realize that I have shifted all of this 1 block to the left. So when I face away from the village, when I face out into the thing, I built 1 block too far that way. So and I fight it a lot at first. I'm like, well, I'll just make it a little wider, and then I'll just move this entire wall. And it's about the time, it doesn't happen for a while actually, that I realize what it means to move that external wall there, the one that I'm looking at right now. That I begin to go, oh no, fuck that, we're going back to the diagram. We're just going to shift everything 1 block right, because that is a hell of a lot to do in terms of that wall and where it is and what it does. So anyway, I end up being a lot further along by the time I get to that, because this is, again, supposed to be a garden spot, and I still haven't figured out quite what to do with that area I was looking at a minute ago, which is between the back end of this and the back of the room that I used to access the nether. So it's, which again, if you saw the bonus video I put up, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, it's just a little bit of tour stuff here. So I'm putting up the dirt. I never thought I would need stacks of dirt. I don't even think at the end of this video that I have enough dirt. I think I actually have to go back and get another block of dirt from my home base to fill this in. It's pretty insane. All right, yeah. So I'm out here in the night, just trying to get the basics of this thing. Because the more I fill in the middle, the more sure I can be about the edges on this. This fucking thing. Anyway, this I don't know, this thing's supposed to be like 15 by 32, so I think it's like 13 long. I appreciate the math that goes into Minecrafting stuff. Slowly beginning to realize the things that I've done wrong here. Anyway, Um, uh, see, I see the walls. No, that's not it, Chris. That's not it. Yeah. There's supposed to be one block here, not two. So then I resolved I'm just gonna make make the wall on the left there a little fatter. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be awesome. Except it won't be. It'll be awful. It's a bad idea. So I'm gonna make that house a little bigger. Like, oh, I'll make everything bigger. It'll be great forever. But no, no, no. So here's where I actually start checking the notes, see if I can do the math for how long all of this stuff is supposed to be. Anyway, so now I decided to build the walls because that's I mentioned inside to outside, but outside to inside ain't half bad either. So once I get the gross dimensions set out, which is what this does, I can start working on the walls to make them taller. And I never really settled on a height for the walls here. I think there's supposed to be like a 3-block gap right here. And again, I'm checking the notes here, but because it'll make everything a lot more secure. And I have completely not completely neglected, but mostly neglected to do that. Those few torches you see scattered around are basically my little tip of the hat to security for this entire operation, which is not good enough. So anyway, returning to the story at hand, what the world needs to know right now is whether or not Putin thinks that, and it doesn't matter what the reality of the situation is, if Putin thinks that he can get whatever he wants out of Ukraine, and if that thing will be worth the cost he's willing to pay, it's a frightening point of concern. Like, it absolutely does not require that Putin have a solid grasp of reality. And people think that Putin is this Machiavellian player of realpolitik. He works hard on his image as this cool KGB motherfucker looking out for number one. And that is an easy image to project, being a cool, selfish asshole. I mean, how many politicians have to work to seem like a relatable, cheery, approachable guy? What I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to remind everyone that he is a glorified thug, not necessarily an all-knowing, super clever bad guy. Remember that whenever I take pot shots at the NSA for conducting surveillance on average Americans with an incredible power disparity to make it look like they're doing their jobs, I remember that they at least have some pretensions of doing it for a good reason. The KGB, they have the very same power disparity, in fact a greater one, between the people they bully, poison, and kill, and it's an asymmetric power environment. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Putin, and by extension the entirety of the KGB, are just bullies. They're haughty, they're incompetent, and they're friggin' maroons. No one holds them to account except for their inability to keep regular people in the party line. That is it. That is it. So, is he going to be the uber-competent realpolitik monster, the threat that everyone makes him out to be, or the bully who's finally gone too far? Will he actually fold at the first sign of trouble, or will he redouble his efforts when he refuses to believe that he is finally being told no? Is he afraid of U.S. reprisal? EU reprisal? Is the European Union committed to a world where countries are free to join it? Is it so committed to that world that they would go to war? The EU is primarily an economic alliance, one that's still shaken from the 2008 market kerfluffle. War might actually be good for business, but it's probably not in their interest to do so. But can such an alliance exist without a military dimension? And would a conflict with Russia strengthen such an alliance or weaken it? Anyway, Putin is far from the only bastard playing the bastard game. You guys remember Hugo Chavez? Funny guy. He called the U.S. the Great Satan. He had cancer and it killed him. So you've got Maduro now, and he's being such a dick. He's shooting civilians with the military. Members of his own party are calling him out, governors of different states in Venezuela. He kicks CNN out so that no one can see what's happening in Venezuela, and that's this kind of thing, guys. If you don't want cameras around of reporters, what you're doing is probably not good. I'll give you that for free, Internet. Openness indicates a certain level of moral assuredness. Let's see what. Oh, so in Car, there's this story about a kid getting his arm cut off because the Central African Republic is pretty fucking crazy right now. I talked a little bit about it earlier. I'm still talking about it now. What are we doing here? What are we doing here on the Minecraft side? I'm trying to make this walkway here. Still in complete denial about how inadequate it is that I'm trying to just work around this little offset, but I'll get to that. Anyway, let's see, what else? Oh, I was reading this awful article about North Korea and about the conditions in their prison camps. I highly recommend that you read it, but I also recommend that you steel yourself to read about the very worst abuses of humanity. It is intense, and you should be aware of it. You should be aware of what's going on over there. But I was affected just reading it. So heads up there. Good news though. Good news. We should do some good news. There might be a Farscape spin-off movie about the son of John Crichton and Aaron Sung. There's going to be a 13-episode Heroes miniseries. So, people are excited about that because there was, if you can remember far enough back, a point in time where people were excited, super excited about Heroes, and there was also a point in time where people were justified in being super excited about Heroes. It was a long time ago, but it happened. I was there. I saw it. Let's see. Good news. Oh, I was reading about improvements that are going to be made to women's prisons in the United States. Alabama is going to be talking about findings that revealed that guard-on-inmate rape in prisons is a problem. They're going to be cutting down on cross-gender shower observations. That seems good. In Maryland, they're going to cut down on the restraints they place on women who are incarcerated. Technically, more specifically, pregnant women. There's a budgetary allocation for the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency that will allow them to meet their own guidelines for the treatment of pregnant women, because I guess the average stay in Immigrations and Customs Enforcement is about 31 days, and that's a significant amount of time for a pregnant woman. And last year, a woman did miscarry while in ICE custody. And I don't keep up, but I can only assume that pro-life advocates were super pissed about that. Let's see, what else? Good news. Positive news, bright news, shiny news. Good news. Oh, the president announced a $200 million Brothers Keeper program to help African American men succeed, and that's good. That's good. You look at the numbers, and do I still have sand and sandstone? Yes, jackpot. I'm gonna put shit in this chest, completely ignoring the inevitability of me looking for these things, especially that splash potion, later, and wondering where the fuck they are, because I'm somehow running low on sandstone, which was not a problem I ever thought that I would have in this game. Anyway, and then I'm gonna get out of here via my nether wart thing, and I have so much nether wart, you guys, just stacks and stacks of nether wart. Not whole chests of nether wart, but God, I could. So anyway, I turned that little house into a nether wart farm, and Jesus Christ, so much nether wart, so much. Anyway, been a while. Anyway, where are we going with this? Yeah. By most of the metrics we use to determine whether or not people are succeeding, black dudes are not doing so great. So I think it's good, and I don't. You need focus from culture to help make these changes. These guys face a lot of obstacles, um, but government can help too. Again, government to some degree can gently push society in a certain way. Whenever government tries to, especially in the United States, tries to tell people, to change societally or change how they act, I think this is the moment where I decided to shift the entire farm, boop, to the right. Anyway, people rebel against it. We don't like being told what to do. It's just American stuff. Um, oh nope. I'm about to because I'm digging the water for this, which is going to be bad. And I'm going to realize and just creeper. Oh, hello, creeper. So anyway, I was listening to Rush, and he's like, "Well, what if there was a program for white guys?" And I was all, "Dude, we have things to help wealthy guys keep their wealth. It's called the Bush era tax cuts. Like Bush crafted it, and Romney wanted to extend it, and it's for people it was going to help people who were like them, mostly white rich folks, under the guise that by helping those people it would help most of America. And I think that the tax cuts that help the wealthy, I think they only help the wealthy. I think that it says something about a culture when someone who is a thing passes legislation that helps folks like them under the belief that it will help everyone. The logic here is that if I'm good, then helping me helps everyone. Therefore, helping me is good. When that's not really the case at all. I mean, everyone kind of thinks like that. It's I got mine legislation, and it's indicative of a culture where government is expected to help people like them instead of everyone. It's a very narrow perspective, and some people legitimately believe in it. Putting money and power into their pockets, right? They believe it's good for everyone because everyone with a modicum of self-confidence believes that they know best. And by doing so, it justifies any claim to power that they have. And money is just a form of power. So they think, well, I know what I'm doing, so I should have more power than these other people. So let's serve me. Let's get on with that. Let's bring this back to me because I'm gonna do good things with it. And there's no reality check for that. There's no critical really for that. So people feel perfectly justified in saying, well, government, that's designed to funnel money from other people back to me. So anyway, it's for all those keeping up at home, the president is an African American male, and he launched a program specifically for African American males, and it feeds the narrative that politicians exist only to help out people like themselves, especially for a president who was elected with such high hopes for elevating the principles under which this country was run. I want to say this is a good idea. I want to state that this is a good idea. This is a group of people who deserve attention, and it's a good program. But I think incidental to this program, it takes a lot of small-minded bigots, and it just feeds their shitty little narratives. I don't know. Because there are people out there, and they feel that for some reason democracy, if you're in a democracy and you're not being empowered, you're being oppressed. And so they think that if they're not getting more power, power is being taken away from them. They think the goal is to get the biggest piece of the pie you can and put in as little as you can. These are the people who gleefully point out when their political opponents do this, not so they can gain the moral high ground, although they sometimes have pretensions to that, but to justify it when they do the same thing. And for a president who seemed cognizant of those narratives, it is surprising that he would publicly launch this initiative so directly pointed at these people. It's just confusing. I didn't expect it. I hope it works out well, and not doing something good because it might somehow fuel some bigots is no excuse not to do something good. Again, I'm just really surprised, but it does fuel a narrative that existed before and will continue to exist, where politicians legislate their help their own, and you can see it in Yanukovych. Yeah, you can see it in Yanukovych. A culture that only looks out for number one will be run by people who do exactly that. And a culture that does that may in fact own weapons of incalculable power, but will not be capable of defending itself against corruption, against despotism, against even the smallest army that can boast a unity of purpose. It will not even be able to defend itself against a few men on a subway with long knives. Anyway, I kind of went off script and rambled a bit at the end there, and I'm not getting any closer to finishing up this farm, so I'm just going to post the rest of this in a fast forward bit, and hope that you enjoy the comedic factor there. Anyway, you have a good night.